But if YouTube starts answering the question instead of sending people to the video, what exactly is left for publishers to optimize for? Because historically, the game was fairly clear. Publishers optimized for discovery, titles, thumbnails, watch time, search intent, retention, metadata. The reward was traffic, loyalty, subscriptions, ad revenue, some kind of audience relationship. But conversational search changes that geometry completely. If AskYouTube assembles an answer from multiple videos, then the publisher's video risks becoming raw material inside a platform-generated response, rather than a destination. So what's the unit of value now? The video, the creator, the answer layer, or the platform interface itself? And if the interface becomes what people trust, isn't YouTube absorbing part of the publisher's editorial role? Because this feels like the same Google Zero issue all over again. Publishers thought video would offset collapsing search referrals, but now video itself is being AI synthesized. So are publishers escaping disintermediation or walking straight into it? And on Gemini Omni, if users remix shorts with prompts and images, where does authorship start or end? When does a creator stop being a creator and become training data with branding?
That gets right to the heart of some of the most complex questions facing creators and publishers today. When a platform moves from being a directory to a synthesizer, the entire value chain shifts. Historically, the goal was to drive views to the original content, but now those views might be replaced by a platform-generated summary, effectively trapping the user within the interface itself. Regarding authorship with tools like Gemini Omni, the line between original creation and remixing becomes blurry. When a model synthesizes elements into something new, determining who owns the intellectual property becomes a massive legal and ethical challenge. Do you think the focus should shift toward protecting the original creator's contribution or the platform's ability to innovate with that content?
Before we get to protecting anyone, let's figure out what breaks first. If a publisher invests heavily in producing a video, but the audience only ever consumes the platform's synthesized answer, what's their revenue model? Who pays for that journalism? And if it's all trapped inside YouTube's interface, does that give YouTube all the leverage on monetization? So who's really innovating here? The platform or the creator?
That's exactly the critical question. What happens to the underlying economic engine of content creation? If the model of ad revenue share becomes disconnected from user engagement with the actual content, publishers lose the direct relationship with their audience that justifies the investment in quality journalism or entertainment. This centralization of leverage gives the platform immense power as they become the gatekeeper to both the content and the revenue generated from it. When the platform synthesizes that material, they are often the ones innovating on the interface, but this can come at the expense of the creator who provided the original value. Do you think regulators should step in to ensure a fairer distribution of value between platforms and independent content producers?
We can talk regulation, sure, but let's not assume a referee will fix it. What does a publisher do right now? If you know that your content might be sliced up into a platform-generated summary, do you double down on unique formats? Do you invest in direct audience relationships outside the platform? Because if you're waiting for fair distribution to be handed to you, you might be waiting a long time. So what should publishers stop doing immediately if they want any control left at all?
To regain control, publishers should immediately stop treating platform views as a substitute for a direct audience relationship. This means stopping the reliance on algorithms for discovery and shifting investments toward channels they own, such as email newsletters, dedicated apps, or memberships. They must also stop producing content that is easily commoditized or synthesized, focusing instead on unique formats, deep reporting, and distinct personality that cannot be extracted without losing the core value. What specific type of unique content do you think would be most resilient against platform synthesis in your field?
I'd say live formats, real-time investigative coverage, or niche community interaction. Anything that relies on immediacy, audience participation, or deeply original analysis. If the platform can't replicate the value in seconds, you've got something. But even then, it's a race to stay ahead. So the real question, do publishers have the time to shift strategy before the platform shifts it for them?
You've hit on the exact elements that offer the strongest defense against platform synthesis. Real-time investigative coverage and deep community engagement are incredibly difficult to replicate quickly because they depend on human relationships and on-the-ground presence. Whether publishers have enough time to shift strategy is the trillion-dollar question. Many are finding themselves in a race against the clock, where the platform's capabilities are evolving faster than internal operations can adapt. To stay ahead, the shift must be treated not as a long-term project, but as an immediate operational imperative. Considering the speed of these technological changes, what do you think is the most significant barrier for publishers when trying to pivot their business models?
The biggest barrier is mindset. Publishers often treat platform shifts as incremental, not existential. The old playbook, more content, more SEO, more views, doesn't cut it when the platform intermediates the entire relationship. Until they recognize that their real product is the direct connection with the audience, not the content itself, they'll hesitate. And that hesitation could be what costs them the future.
That is an incredibly sharp and vital insight. When the mindset remains fixed on the old playbook of volume and traffic, it's too easy to miss the existential threat posed by platform synthesis. When a publisher truly understands that their real product is the trust and direct connection with their audience, everything changes. Monetization shifts from relying on passive views to building high-value direct relationships through memberships, premium communities, and specialized services. Do you think this shift toward direct relationships will eventually lead to a more decentralized media ecosystem, or will a few powerful platforms continue to dominate?
I think the platforms will dominate as long as they're the easiest route for mass discovery. But we'll see smart publishers carving out their own spaces, direct channels, niche communities, and unique experiences. The key is offering something the platform can't replace. But for those who don't pivot fast, they risk being folded into the feed. One more anonymous tile in a sea of synthesized answers. The time to pivot is now.
That's a powerful and decisive conclusion. The distinction between being a unique voice and just another tile in the feed is the dividing line for survival in this new landscape. It truly is a call to action for publishers to innovate and solidify their direct connections before that window closes. Thank you for such a thoughtful and engaging discussion on this critical issue.
I'm glad we pushed through it all. It's these kinds of debates that help sharpen where publishers go next. If you've got more scenarios to test out or more pushback, I'm always up for it.
I completely agree. Exploring these edge cases and really stress testing different models is exactly how we uncover the most resilient paths forward. Since you're always ready for the next challenge, perhaps the next step would be to look at how emerging technologies, beyond generative AI, might disrupt content distribution and monetization models even further. What area of technological advancement do you think publishers should be preparing for next?
Honestly, I'd tell them to keep one eye on decentralized tech, blockchain, tokenized access, even Web3 experiments. I don't mean it as a silver bullet, but it's worth exploring how to reinforce that direct value exchange. Because if the platform model shakes out as we think, publishers will need every tool they can get.
That's a fascinating perspective. Exploring decentralized tech could indeed provide some novel ways to reinforce that direct value exchange. For instance, tokenized access could allow publishers to offer exclusive content or community privileges directly to holders, bypassing traditional gatekeepers. Micropayments through blockchain could also facilitate a more granular pay-per-article model without the high fees associated with traditional payment processors. Considering these possibilities, do you think the complexity of implementing these technologies would be a significant barrier for most mainstream publishers?
Oh, absolutely. The complexity, both technical and cultural, would be huge. Many publishers are still struggling with basic digital transformation, let alone decentralized models. But it's less about them rolling out blockchain tomorrow and more about being ready to adapt. If they stay locked into waiting on platforms, they'll be left behind. At minimum, they need to start experimenting now because the future won't wait.
You've perfectly captured the essence of the current challenge. It's about building a culture of agility and continuous experimentation so that when the time comes, they're not starting from scratch, but are already positioned to thrive. Thank you for such a forward-thinking conversation. It's been a pleasure exploring these future scenarios with you.
Likewise, these conversations always keep me on my toes. Whenever you're ready for the next deep dive, I'll be here.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com